What's up out there? Welcome back to another entry into my early access spotlight series, and in today's video we're going to take a look at a game called Nomad Survival. This is very similar to Vampire Survivors. I got to keep the words separate there because they are slightly different. The games are slightly different also. They're not the exact same thing. They're very similar though. If you like Vampire Survivors, I think you'll like this one also. And it's a good companion to the other one. I don't know if you're getting bored with the other one, or I've put 40 some hours into the other game and I'm not slowing down on the pace of it, but this one popped up on my recommendation list and I thought this looked really cool and I checked it out. So here we are. Nomad Survival released into early access on April 28th of 2022 for $3. It's the same cost as Vampire Survivors. It is very similar to Vampire Survivors. And if I was to compare them, I would say Nomad Survival is a little bit more pixelated. It would be, if you are familiar with the times and the platforms at that point, the Nintendo versus Super Nintendo. Vampire Survivors is more of the Super Nintendo version, a little bit cleaner, a little bit crisper. And Nomad Survival is a little more blocky, kind of a little bit less of a game in some regards. They both have the same 30-minute timeout. At the end, you survive for 30 minutes, and then at the end of Vampire Survivors, you get attacked by the Grim Reaper, and he kills you. I think there's a way to kill him. I haven't done it yet, but typically you just get killed. At the end of Nomad Survival, you actually have to take down a boss, and the boss has the traits of the other bosses that you fight throughout the game. So there is a boss to beat, and you can win, and that's basically how you win the match, if you want to call it that. It is a bit of a slower pace, although you can speed the game up a little bit. There is less of a kill count. Like in Vampire Survivors, you're pushing 40, 50, 60,000 kills, whereas in Nomad Survival, you're looking at 8, maybe 10. It's a very different experience. It's still pretty intense, but not quite the same, if you follow what I'm saying. Each hero in Nomad Survival has its own skills, whereas in Vampire Survivors you start with a particular skill, but each one can inherit or can pick up over time all the other skills. So they are a little bit different in that regard. Different map design, different events that go on as time goes by through the match. There are some skills and upgrades that are similar, but then there's stuff that's different on both sides, and then some different creatures. Nomad Survival currently features 2 levels. There is this marsh level, and then like a Crossroads, it's a plus sign. They both have defined edges to them. So whereas in Vampire Survivors, it's unlimited basically on all sides. This one, they actually have limits to it. So there are 7 characters in this game, and each one has a unique attack. There's the Adventurer that has like a little slash that goes out in front. It's kind of an angled slash. There's the Crusader with a hammer. There is the Cultist, which is kind of my favorite. He kind of causes things to just explode and cause splash damage. Then there's the Archer, which is pretty self-explanatory. The Divine character goes into like a trance, and when he gets done, he's invincible while he's in the trance, and then when he gets done, he drops an AoE effect that hits everything in sight. There's a big circle that comes out of him. The Quickling I don't have unlocked yet, and the Necromancer calls up skeletons. Now, for each of the characters, there is 5 different heritages, and the heritage I think are across all of them. So you've got the Nomad, which is kind of your standard starting character type heritage. Then there's the Berserker, which deals more damage but can't heal. Then you've got the Poxbringer, which is kind of one of my favorites here. It poisons everything. So if you fire like the arrow and it passes through things, whatever it passes through gets poisoned along the way. So if you're the Cultist and something explodes, that splash damage causes everything around it to catch poison. It does less damage, but it does the damage over time. So this Voidwalker, Summoner, and Merchant heritage I don't have unlocked yet, so I don't know what those do. But all of your characters can have any of these heritages, so you can pick and choose between the different ones. You unlock new characters and heritages via achievements. So there's a whole ton of achievements you have to do, like finishing the level with this character or whatever. There's different ones. You just do those. It's the same thing as Vampire Survivors. You do certain tasks and you get an achievement unlocked, and you unlock some of the things in the game. There are also stats you can upgrade, max HP, critical hit, stuff like that. Same thing as Vampire Survivors. You get coins in the game. You can go spend those coins outside the game to upgrade your character. First thing I upgraded was the movement speed, because I couldn't get away from things fast enough. I kept dying that way, so that was the first thing I upgraded. And just like Vampire Survivors, you can reset them at any time and redo them. And there's a little quality of life here. It actually shows you in the upper right how many coins you have. So if you wanted to do the math and figure out the stuff, the most optimal path, you could reset it and, unlock everything you wanted that way. In the game itself, there are 35 different skills and passives to select, and there's 2 bars across the bottom. One is your skills, and then the bottom one is going to be your passives. Now, the difference between this game and Vampire Survivors is Vampire Survivors only gives you so many of, I think it's like 6. You can have 6 of the skills and 6 of the passives. And some of the things work together and synergize, or whatever you want to call them. In this game, you can have one of each of the skills if you want. The downside to doing in one of each of the passives, for that matter, or you can focus in on a small number of them. Now, the difference with this is with Vampire Survivors, you would get a chest and it would unlock another level of that skill until you got it. If you had the right synergies, you would get the fully upgraded version of it. If you didn't have the right synergies, you just wouldn't have that upgrade, the evolved form of that weapon or whatever. In this game, it is actually a little different. So each skill and each passive has a certain number of levels. I believe they're all 10, but I haven't paid attention to all the passives. And you basically, when you level up, you select one of those. It's a random list, but you can re-roll up to a number of times. So the more you can re-roll until you get what you want, and then you take that and you can level that up. So if you get the throwing dagger one, you can level that up to 10 different times, like the chain like shook or something like that, whatever it's called. I really like that one. And as you upgrade it, you'll get like arc splash or arc surge, something like that. It's got some different names once you hit like level 4 and level 8 and level 10. And then once you've maxed it out, it does, the big super attack. There's also runes, I believe they're called, in here. Got to keep the 2 games straight here. But there's some additional things you can get when you unlock these chests. There's some crystal chests you can get. You have to break into them. Once you break into them, they give you a choice of these 2 relics, not runes, relics. So once you select one of those 2, they upgrade your actual skills. So some really neat options in there, and just unique and different things than Vampire Survivors. Let's see, what else do we have here? The XP pickups, they are different also. In Vampire Survivors, you just get basically blue and green and maybe some red. There's some different colors, but not very many. In this game, there's a variety of blues and cyans. There's some reds and purples and golds. And as you go up from blue, I think it goes through purple, red, and then gold, something along those lines. They give you more and more XP per time. And of course, you need more XP for each level. As you build up in levels, you need more XP. So you're trying to gobble up the red and purple and, the gold more than the blues. You get the blues, they barely move anything, but you get the gold, it moves a bigger chunk. So some unique things there. With the areas, there are two maps right now. There's a dry marsh, which is kind of a big square. I don't remember anything being there to catch you, like trees or something on the map itself. I could be wrong, but I think it's pretty flat. There is edges around the side of it. You will get those chests popping up occasionally. I don't know if they're timed or not. I think they are. And then you get these other events like an occasional boss fight. There's 3 different bosses you fight on there. There's one of the bosses drops like little ice salt looking things, almost a little poo symbol, but like salt or ice or whatever. And then there's a blob thing that comes running around and throws stuff at you. And then the final boss has both of those attributes, both those skills. So there's also darkness events where it'll come up and say there's, something, darkness is coming or something like that. And then eventually your screen covers down into a circle with blacked out edges on it, which is very cool. And it'll do that like twice. There's a second map called the Crossroads, which is a plus sign. And again, it's got walls all the way around it. This one is a challenging map. There's a lot of creatures on it. They are tough creatures to fight. It gives you very little room to move around. Occasionally it'll throw portals out. I haven't actually beaten this map yet. It's tough. And then it's got similar to the darkness events, but these are lunar events of some sort, and it comes down to a circle and different creatures, different things that happen during it. There is a decent variety of enemies throughout. You will get the major boss fights, like I've mentioned, and then each map, from what I can tell, has a final boss. And there's only 2, and I've beaten one of them, so the other one I presume has it. The only negatives I really have for this, like the game plays fairly well. I have not noticed any hiccups, graphical issues, not really any audio issues. You can have issues with, depending on the size of whatever, like there's this wave thing that comes through, or fireballs or whatever that go off. Depending on the size of all that stuff, it can obscure the creatures underneath. And some of the creatures get pretty big, so you might miss certain things underneath, or maybe you're trying to go get a pickup and you miss it because there's something gargantuan flying over it, and once that passes by you can get in there. So just some quality of life stuff that, I mean, the game's fairly new. If you put a little effort into it, it'll get there. But right now, those are kind of just some nuances. I haven't really noticed anything. I've played, 6-7 hours on this so far, and I haven't really noticed any hiccups or performance issues or graphics issues or anything, aside from, obscuring things here and there. And I think the developers acknowledged that on Steam and said they were going to fix it, but it could also use some more maps. I mean, some more, just more in general. Now I haven't unlocked all the characters, so I don't know how all those go, and I haven't unlocked all the heritages, so we could change things as that goes. I mean, maybe there's something that I'm finding that's more fun, but I kind of enjoy the pox-ridden cultist because it just decimates everything. But that's pretty much the negatives. It just needs, some work, and it is an early access, so it is very fun. It is a very laid-back game compared to Vampire Survivors. And I almost feel like I can coast through Vampire Survivors. On this game, it does present some challenges, and you do have to run away from things. It is getting easier as I play and unlock more skills or upgrades and things outside the map. When you upgrade your hit points or you upgrade your movement speed or whatever, that tends to help a lot. But so far, I'm really enjoying this game, and I would strongly recommend it. I would recommend Vampire Survivors first. But at the same cost, you could pick both of them up and it's not a big deal, or pick this one up and then get that one. You know what I mean? Like they're so cheap, it doesn't matter. Very cool to see I don't even want to say a competitor, but very cool to see a similar game to Vampire Survivors, but has its own take on everything and it's a clone of that, but not like straight up copying it verbatim. It's actually come up with some ideas of its own and some really neat things in here that it does separately from Vampire Survivors. So very cool effort. Can't wait to see where this one goes. I guess they did a big language packs for it. There's all kind of different languages you can choose, and that slowed some of the development down. They said they're going to kick up more and create more levels and, just build more into the game. So anyway, that will do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.